Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. It's the 30th, last couple of days of October. So I have taken a couple of trades this morning, but on an evaluation, which I've passed. I actually got in around about here. As soon as that broke here, I thought that may come down a couple of legs, so I took it in, got the last few ticks. So possibly a failure here, but we are getting close to the edge of that market, so leg and a leg. So let's just have a look at this. Let's just get an order ready just in case.
Order submitted.
Because we've got 2 legs up and also possible failed second entry long. Channel down, 2 attempts to push higher. Let's just have a little look here. Okay, signal bars and NAF anyway. Market is open. Exponential, how you doing, buddy? So let's see if this triggers. Leg and a leg. Could call it a triple test, actually. Market is open. Definitely going to be some stops there, isn't there? Come on.
Order submitted.
Okay. Let's see how we get on here. Going to be some stops there for sure. And there quite probably, possibly. Could be a bit of a, in fact,
target filled.
Okay, it's all right. I just noticed there it's getting a little bit of support there, so I wanted to get out just as we hit that, but I put my stop there early in it and it triggered me. So there's a quick $300 in each account there, so that's worked out all right. So nice start. It was clearly 2 legs up and 1, 2, 3 a triple test with a bearish bar, so it broke the lows. So spot on. I think a few people took that as well. So it's not often we get a trade like that, so I'm quite pleased with that. So 2 legs back, triple test, somewhere along those lines. So let's just put that there. So test plus 3 points. Excellent. It's not often we get a trade that quick, so I'm just going to quickly save that, capture it. Bummer I couldn't get more because you're not. I liked it actually. Clearly 2 legs back as well. How long it was going to last down there, I don't know, but I think it was worth breaking those lows anyway. So I've noticed sometimes I tend to hesitate a bit, so I'm trying to sort of stop doing that. If I like the trade, I'm just going to take it. So, okay, so it depends. I mean, I've messed around with that. How you doing, Jay, anyway? I've messed around with that. I've kind of had it like that. In which case, if it is, it's a break anyway in a new low. I've kind of had it a few different ways. But regardless anyway, we're clearly moving down. It's clearly 2 legs up. There's a failed second entry short, surely going to track. And when that finished, to me, it was going to stop that out. If it stops that out, it's probably going to stop that higher low out. That was mainly what I was concerned about, getting below there. But I dropped my order in. I just noticed a little bit of support there. So I dropped my order in there at about 2.5 points. Unfortunately, as it broke below there, as it broke below, I have a bad experience trading the open. 3 or 4 times I've had slippage. Yeah, I know what you're saying, bud. I'm not a massive fan of it myself, in all fairness. I traded the open a couple of weeks ago and made a right mess because of the liquidity, that quick bit of liquidity up the lag. And for some reason, when my order kicked, well, what it was is I actually clicked sell, or no, it was buy. And for some reason, it opened up the order, but it didn't open the profit and the stop. And you kind of get startled in your tracks, and I was a bit unsure what to do, whether to hold or what, and it went against me and I ended up losing 800. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm not a massive fan of doing that. Let me look. So I think Thomas Wade took it by the looks of things. Baby Squid took it. I think a few people took it. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's same as yesterday. Stop trading the open. Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I think that's a sensible move. It's like yesterday, you know, that news with that trade, we had that high low with the news. Mac left it, didn't he? He never marked it. He marked the second entry long, but not the higher low because he said it was too close to the news. So I don't know. It's very easy to. We all kind of think slightly differently, don't we? That to me is always a breakout of that range. We all think slightly different. So the trouble is with this style of trading, you don't have a lot of time to think, do you? So it's why it kind of don't suit everybody. You have to make a quick decision, and obviously the less time you have to make a decision, the more chance you got of ballsing it up. But I think the bit that got me into that is the amount of trades that were trapped. We're clearly in a downtrend. There's no argument. Clearly 2 legs up. So it was one. It was a failure. 2. It was so we had a bullish bar here, a higher low, and a failed second entry short. So I'm thinking there's gonna be traders trap. And when that bounced off here and pushed out, I thought for sure it was going to get below that bar, which kind of would have given me enough. So if I didn't think the trade was as good as it was, I probably wouldn't have taken it. But 2 legs, yeah, there's clearly 2 legs up. It's like you say, it's clearly off support, so you could say triple test, could say failure. But what I tend to look at as well is not just as the trade, who am I trapping? And we had a bullish bar here, a higher low, another really good bullish bar, and another bullish bar for the failure. So I'm thinking there's 3 loads of trades trapped. Now often this comes down, clears out any liquidity. There's 3 lots of liquidity there, and it did. And as soon as it did that, it pushed straight back up to the top of this channel and then come down again. So it was kind of like a breakout the top, but often I notice it does that. It's like anything. The more you sit in front of these charts, the more you notice things. And I've been doing a little bit of studying about liquidity, and the market often picks off all these little bits of liquidity. And I'm thinking there's definitely some longs in there. There's got to be. So it's one of those things. You have to just take what you believe is right and kind of stick with it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it wasn't as good as it was, I would have left it, I think. But I know what you're saying, mate. It is. It's not an easy decision sometimes, isn't it? You know, with the best will in the world, we try and do the right thing, but you don't have a lot of time to think, so it's very easy to balls up, innit? Don't get me wrong. I mean, you guys know me by now. You know, I've had my fair share of balls ups. And, you know, from time to time, we do get a little bit impulsive in our trading, don't we? And that's kind of like the downside to scalping because it is so quick. So I was going to tell you guys something. Can't for the life of me remember what it was now. I can't remember what it was. Well, that's a nice start today, up on 3 accounts. I've got another account as well tomorrow. I did kind of want 5, so I've got 3 at the moment. I kind of wanted just to get 5, and then when I get to a payment, just add some. What was I going to tell you? Can't for the life of me remember what it was now. So anyway, that one, I don't think that was a bad trade either. It was a second entry short, fell break out the range, clipped the top of that perfectly and came straight down So obviously what I try and do is if I get into a trade, I try and not get into one quickly after. I mean, in all fairness, the chance of getting another one straight after is about slim to none at the moment, isn't it? But, sometimes you can get a little bit carried away, can't you? I've done that before, but we got a channel there with a break and a new high. What I always like, again, same again, there's a higher low there. Triggered, clipped the top of that line, and then came down bearish. So I thought there was a good chance it would clear out this lot. But in all fairness, I wasn't mega focusing on that. I was just, you know, sort of, I had that last trade in my head, but there was a few took that. Let me have a look. Some people marked it Thomas marked it as second entry short, but I didn't necessarily see him take it. Sometimes he'll usually wants it, so he's put that one there clearly as a failure and triple test, and that one. But usually he'll show you that he's in it, and he hasn't done. He's marked it as a second entry short. I get out anymore. No, so he's marked it. I don't know whether he's taken it. Usually he'll show you, but so this thing seems to want to go down some more. So let me have a little look back a few days. Okay, so we know this is an area that it's bouncing down here. So I think there's a chance, just as good a chance, we kind of get down here somewhere in this area. Let me have a look. We came from below it, we pushed above it and bounced in it. So there's definitely volume happening in that area, isn't there? Kind of started the day there, came down, had two legs down, pushed straight through it, bounced on it again 3 times really, and then up. And then we bounced 3 times, we got a bit lower, 2 more bounces, and that's when we had that big gap up. And eventually we opened yesterday, we went you can see 2 legs down, we filled that gap nicely and then bounced again. So if we can get down here, I dare say this is an area that may bounce. The way this thing is going, it may not take that long either. 10, 20, 30, 40 points from the overnight high. So it certainly would make sense coming down here, wouldn't it? So just keep that in mind if we can get in there. Wade avoids trading at the open. I think he does, yeah. I think he does. So look how that's bounced like that right there. Sometimes the open doesn't really do much. Other times you do get... Usually I keep an eye on that lag. But at the moment the market is quite a bit sedentary. So we opened around about here, didn't we, somewhere? Let me have a look. Did we actually open bang on the nail? So, yeah, that was the open during that bar. It triggered above there and came down bearish. Yeah, I think there's definitely more risk. But even so, even if you notice, like yesterday, that news still fitted. Where do we have that news spike? Was it there? I can't remember. I think it was there, wasn't it? No, maybe not. They still fit within the range, don't we? I think it was something like that. But yeah, whenever we have these news spikes, they still kind of fit within these channels. But if I didn't think it was a really lovely trade, I'd have avoided it, mind you. We say that, don't we? You get a little bit of impulsive and then... Okay, so channel with a break and a new low. Is this going to head for this area? I think there's a good chance it's going to. Now, you may open that up, but in all fairness, it's fitting there perfectly, and that, to me, sideways like that is a break, really. In fact, there could be a slightly wider channel here. It fits there where the market closed, I think. And it's working around that midline, so there might be a slightly wider channel there. Trouble is, if you put it to there, it's only really hit this area once, isn't it, mind you? I do like the way that's fitting around the midline. Couple of legs up, so channel break, new low, 2 legs up. So I do have to be aware that there may have been an overshoot, so I automatically avoid that first entry. Sorry, that first setup. Not only that, if you look at the 10,000 tick chart, touch, there's no break there, so might just be coming back to the top. So I'm always aware that there may be an overshoot, but previous before that, we've only really had one touch at the bottom of this. So is that the bottom or is this the bottom? And the reason I brought it down there is because I like the way it's working around that midline. You can see where it closed and opened there. Here, a little bounce there. It definitely seems to be kind of fitting in some odd warped way around that midline. So having said that, this is a strong move back. Well, maybe it's just coming back to this side. Oh, let's put that back where it was. See, we've had a channel with a break and a new high. We're getting very close to this top again, but I'm just going to be extra cautious here, just in case. Let's have a look. It would have to be a push down below that EMA and then looking bearish, really. Okay, channel break, new high. So, I can adjust that a tiny touch to fit that. Touch, 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 touch. I'd have preferred that bullish bar to have triggered. It still may push up. It's hard to say. You just never know. If it is an overshoot, it could sort of push up, have a little break, and continue higher. It's a bit early to tell yet, really. Okay, so that bullish bar and that slightly bullish bar as well is no okay, so I was going to say it's triggered. I thought that may now come down, but so if that is an overshoot, that would make sense. Sometimes we just get an equal move the other side. So if I put that back there, we could just get the same sort of move that side. Let's see if we hold here. Okay, is this thing completely reversing? Let me have a look. Okay, this thing's definitely heading for the hills, isn't it? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 points. Woof, straight up. Does look like a little two-tiered channel, that. Started there, pushed from the bottom to the top, slowly came back, has been working that bottom tier. Doesn't look like it, mate, does it? That's a fair old move, that. Quickly like that. Little bars as well. That ATR's coming down. That's quite a strong move up, that is. Right, that is a trade that I often mark whenever we get a channel this wide like that and you get a bearish bar in an uptrend. Buy it there. 2-point risk, 2-point profit as soon as the bar closes. Let's see if it would have worked. So if you buy it here, 2-point profit, 2-point stop. Whether I'd have bought that or not, I don't know, because it's gone quite far away from that EMA, but let's just see if it works. It's just a small pullback, that, isn't it? So 2-point risk, 2-point profit, 1-to-1. Double chart, double width chart, where you get enough for 2 bars side by side. As soon as you get a bearish bar, as soon as they close, buy it. 2-point risk, 2-point profit. I dare say it'll work, especially as it's triggered that bearish bar, because there's bound to be someone taking that. That to me is liquidity that kind of has to be taken before it does anything else. Trouble is we're out of here now. You want that really just stay in. Bounced off the order as well, so would that have worked if you'd have bought it on the close? It may have done, you know. So if you buy it here, it may have done, may have worked. As I say, I probably wouldn't have done that, especially after that big move. So we're at that 50% level here. Okay, yeah, it would have worked. 2-point risk, 2-to-1. So if you buy it there, it only went down a point. So 2-point risk, 2-point profit. There's your profit. I probably would have avoided that one, to be fair, after that big move. But if you ever get those wide, what I consider double width, that single width, that double width, whenever you get, if in a trend, a bearish bar, they really almost always work. Right at the YC. Yesterday's close. I'm assuming that's what you mean. I'm assuming it's yesterday's close, isn't it? Yesterday's close is up here, so yeah, we're not far away. Anybody know what's happened to who am I thinking of? Moo. Anybody ever heard of Moo lately? Kind of disappeared off the face of the planet, didn't he, 4 or 5 months ago? Shame, actually. I thought he was a nice lad. $58.71. Life Panda. It used to be a guy called Moo. Big shaggy mop type hair. Really nice guy. Big into his running. I think he used to run for the county. I don't know. He's big in running or something. Cross country type running. And he used to stream. He was a nice lad, actually. Had a little chat with him once or twice. And he just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. And there was the other guy as well. He used to stream, but he never used to talk. Blackbeard. Blackpay. He disappeared as well. Yeah, that's it. Ran for Lebanon. Yeah, he was a big sports guy. He just kind of disappeared. There's been a few streamers that comes and goes. Yeah, Panda's still at it, isn't he? I thought he'd finished, actually. He's just changed his thumbnail. This thing's on a mission, isn't it? Look at it. I used to, kind of when I sort of first started within those bits, but I don't know. He hasn't seemed to have. It's hard to tell with him. If you look back at some of his old videos, he used to make money, but then he just kind of, I don't know whether he fell into sort of bad habits, but yeah, I think he sort of does really, which is a shame because obviously when you do this, you know, you want to. We do it to make money, have a better lifestyle, kind of more free time, and with other sort of benefits you get from it, you know, being able to go wherever you like. But he seems to have slipped into some just odd bad habits. But yeah, it kind of sort of. I haven't watched it. I can't remember the last time I watched it, maybe a few weeks ago or something, but he just does seem to just jump in and out of trades constantly. But that's a shame, because when I watch some of his older videos, he had lots of green days. He kind of rarely gets a green day now. I think most of his is kind of red, but it's a shame. He just kind of fell into some bad habits and kind of couldn't get out of them. But Alpine, I usually watch Alpine. I feel a bit sorry for Alpine in a way. Because he was making a ton of money the way he was trading. He went out and bought that brand new Porsche 911. Now he's struggling to make money, so I can't say that a car like that is quite expensive to run, I'm guessing, but I know he does a bit of DJing, doesn't he? But I mean, I did some DJing when I was a bit younger. I had a mobile disco for 7 or 8 years and worked at a couple of nightclubs, and you can earn all right money, but not enough to run one of them things. But obviously he was earning sort of $50,000-$60,000 a month at one point, but he was trading without a stop, so it was kind of all in, and obviously Apex stopped that. But I thought he'd been really frustrated, but he does seem to hold it together quite well. But he hasn't streamed this week, I don't think. Fife is irregular with his streams. Yeah, he's got a full-time job. He's an engineer, isn't he? So I think he tends to usually do an hour or so, sort of late, I tend to finish around about, normally 5:30. The UK, we come back an hour earlier, and he normally starts around 5:30, 6 o'clock, sort of evening UK time, which I suppose is around about 1, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So, but yeah, that's why he does it. He's got a full-time job. He's an engineer. He's got quite an important job. So he kind of fits his in, around his job. And rightly so. Your income's got to come first. But it'd be nice to see him get out of that and get to trading full time. I think he'll do all right, actually. He's got a good mentality, Sam has. So I think he'll do okay. $6,000 a month from his DJ business, does he? Yeah, I suppose so. Mind you, $6,000. It's not huge. Well, yeah, I mean, $6,000. It's not a huge amount of money, is it? What is that UK? It's about 48,000 UK. I suppose that's a bit above average wage. I suppose average wage in the UK, I think it's about 33,000, so they say. Which is about 40-something thousand. So yeah, it's not a huge amount. It depends what type of DJ he is. See, I started when I was about 15 or 16. My stepdad was in the military, and we were based over in Northern Ireland, and they had like a camp there, and they had a guy who did the discos, and I started. He used to pay me £10 a night to unpull the gear in and unpull the gear out, and then he spent more time drinking, and I started putting a few records on and having a bit of a chat, and I did that for 2 years over there. And when I came back to the UK, I bought myself a mobile disco, and I did that for about 7 or 8 years. And then I just got fed up of humping gear around at the end of a night, so I started working in a couple of nightclubs, local nightclubs. I mean, back then, we're going back 20 years ago, I used to get about £18-90 a night. Christmas, you made your money. I mean, going back 20 years, I'd get about £250-300 a night. Doing a disco, I used to turn up with, we had records back then. It just kind of when CDs really came in. We still had records. They were the days, the good old days. And you used to make some good money Christmas, New Year's Eve. I used to get about £500. That's 20 years ago, so was pretty reasonable then. He only does weddings. I used to hate weddings. 8 to 80s, I used to call them. You got the kids saying play kid stuff. You got the adults saying play Frank Sinatra. Some of the oldest saying play Frank Sinatra. And then you got the sort of mid-range. I used to hate them. It's just one of those, you can never please anybody. But yeah, I never used to like weddings. I used to do a couple of regular pub slots in Shrewsbury where I live. There's a pub called Hole in the Wall, and I used to do every Thursday night there, and there was another pub called The Exchange I used to do Wednesday nights. I used to get about £80 a night back then. Way better before, struggling with discipline now and patience. Mate, I'll tell you something. I'll take a few days off. I'll tell you something. Don't beat yourself up. You will go through that stage. You'll have moments of clarity and you'll be doing really well. And then you seem to sort of get lost. So I won't worry too much about that. That's pretty normal. When it comes, it doesn't just stay with you. It'll come, it'll slip away, it'll come, it'll slip away. And you'll get those moments of clarity will get longer and longer. So just accept it, mate. It's normal. But a few days off does you the world of good. Definitely 3 to 4 days, or take a week off. We have got Christmas coming up, so you'll have a nice break then anyway. But don't beat yourself up, mate. It's not easy, this. It does take time. But the fact that you're here trading every day tells me that you've got what it takes. So the one thing I've learned is to forgive yourself when you do stupid things, because, you know, we're only human beings and we're not robots. We're not perfect. And we're dealing with the things we've had all our life and the kind of thing that's inbred to us, emotions. You know, we kind of run on emotions, and you can't just switch it off. You kind of just have to learn to manage in it, and being exposed to it every day, it won't have that same effect on you for the rest of your life. It won't. It will start to wear off. So I won't beat yourself up, mate. Take some deep breaths. Just accept the fact that it's taking time, but you're doing the right thing. You're coming out every day and you're trading, and it's a numbers game. The more you do it, the longer you've been doing it, the closer you'll get to being a consistent. But I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a post on the Max Facebook group 4 or 5 days ago, and it was asking people how long it took them to become profitable, consistently profitable. And the biggest amount was between 4 to 6 years. And there's a guy I talked to, Jonathan from Australia. He said it takes around about 5 years in his opinion. So 4 to 6 years, 5 years right in the middle. So it does take time to change that mindset. So I won't beat yourself up, mate. Just keep plodding on, keep learning, keep trying. It's experience, isn't it? But yeah, I still have those times. I have moments of clarity where I can go for a few weeks and everything's brilliant, and then something silly happens and I take a couple of stupid risks. But I think the more you do it, the more sooner or later that brain decides to just think it's just not worth doing it anymore, and you give up doing stupid stuff. Few days off, I think, is a great idea. Just take a week off or a few days off. You know, go out, breathe some air, dig out your fishing rod, sit in front of a lake and relax. Something like that. Go out for some long walks and just get it out your system, clear your head a bit. It is I mean, this business gets inside you, doesn't it? It gets into your bones, and it kind of meshes you around a bit. I've had all sorts of weird dreams I've had about trading and stuff like that. But this business doesn't feel like a normal job, does it? It kind of feels like a lifestyle. Whether that's just the way it is when you kind of start, and whether that will fade away at some point. I think it must do. It's going to become like a normal job at some point. But when you do something stupid, mate, just learn to forgive yourself. So that's my little 2 cents. I hope it helps. Anytime you guys are having a bad time or whatever and you want to chat, just private message me. I'll chat with you anytime, night or day. It's nice to share this. You know, it can be frustrating, so it's nice to have people to chat to about it. Because if you guys got wives or girlfriend like mine, she ain't interested. As soon as I start talking to her about trading, her eyes just glisten over, and it goes in one ear and out the other. So anytime you guys want to chat about it, or you've had a bad day and you need a bit of a pep talk or something, I'll happily chat with you. Just private message me or email me, and if I pick your message up anytime, your input is great. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. But it's nice. It is nice. It's a pretty lonely old business, this. Saying great advice for you. You have to forgive yourself. I'll tell you something, and I'm not kidding you now. I've actually punched myself in the face before out of pure frustration and anger. And I was watching some trader who was talking about it, and he said that you have to learn to forgive yourself because you're not a robot. You can't just switch those emotions off. You have to learn to just kind of deal with them. Started getting desperate already. I'll tell you something. I'm better now, but I got to the stage where it was affecting my mood. And my wife said to me, she said, I used to dread you coming down from trading, worrying about whether you won or whether you lost and had a bad day. But that's gone now. I don't, it's kind of, I don't know, we've, sometimes if people have been in a relationship and they've been through a bad relationship and they say they kind of toughen up, frightened to love again and all that sort of toughen up. I think the more times you get punished with trading, you do toughen up. So I find when I lose something now, it doesn't hurt me nowhere near as much as it used to. And you do get that kind of numb to it after a while. But I feel much happier now. But I have had times where I felt really, really low and a bit depressed because you train so hard to do something and you're constantly injecting money into it. And you start to question, am I ever going to be able to do this? But, I had a chat with a guy who was a psychologist. And he said, human beings aren't designed to do that type of stuff. We're materialistic. We want things. We don't like losing things. We don't like giving them away. So you kind of have to just keep doing it. And sooner or later, it starts to not mean as much, if you know what I mean. You start to just accept the fact. We all know what we should do. We should accept the loss. We've all heard the book, Greatest Loser Wins, so we know what we're supposed to do. But being able to do it is easier said than done, and it does take time. In my opinion, it's nothing more than it just takes time. You just have to expose yourself to the markets every day and those emotions, and sooner or later they start to have less of an impact on you. And obviously during that time your skill level is constantly climbing, so all of a sudden you'll hit an area where things will start to get easier. I'm a way happier trader than I used to be. It made me miserable at times. It kind of does get to you, especially when you want something so bad, but you just feel like I just felt like I had no control. It was completely taken over me. You kind of feel like possessed. You can't do nothing. But that does slowly start to go. You'll be right, mate. You're doing the right thing. Just keep coming back. Keep trying. Keep practicing. Like Max says, it's a skill. Just come out and trade the charts every day and you'll get better at it. You can't help not. You got a good attitude, Speedy. You always come on here. You're always friendly, always polite. You'll do all right, mate. You'll do all right. But it's nice to share it with other people because we kind of all know what we're going through, really, don't we? We all feel it. And you try telling a non-trader. I don't know how many times my wife said, well, just don't revenge trade. Ain't that simple, is it? But anytime, buddy. We got to look after each other, don't we? We're all in this same. I was going to say sinking boat, but it's probably not the best description. But we're all in the same boat, aren't we? We're all striving for the same thing, and we all know how tough it is at times. And when you have a bad day, it can hurt, can't it? So, Spike channel, this thing is climbing up. There is, you expect a ton of liquidity around there. Big push down, bunch of pushes up and a drop. So, are we going to get a second entry? The trouble is, when I've had a trade, and I don't take a lot in a week, 2, 3, something like that. When did you start price action trading? Just don't revenge trade. That's magic. The thing is, a non-trader just doesn't understand it. She said, well, why don't you just walk away? If it was that simple, we'd all be rich, wouldn't we? I started trading from a complete beginner. Will be 4 years this coming Christmas. But I started price action at about 6 months after that. I started with a UK trader called Andrew Lockwood, who worked in the trading pits of the London Stock Exchange during the 80s and worked for various city banks. And he started teaching people and having his own kind of little forum. And that was my first taste of trading, and it was with currency. So I think probably most of you know a little bit about with currency. There's obviously various different currency pairs, and I found out we spent most of the time looking for a chart to trade. And I saw those, the two that got a lot of us into it, Michael Chin and Riley Coleman. I just saw them trade in the S&P 500 using one chart and one time frame, and I thought that sounds good. So I just started watching those, and I was about to buy their course, which was £300, I think, at the time, and I realised they'd sort of nicked the idea from Mac. So I started following Mac, and that's kind of where I came from. So about 3.5 years with price action. There is two legs back here in a bullish bar. Trouble is, it's an inside bar. Do I think it's still going to work up? Quite probably, yeah. But the fact that it's an inside bar and I've already taken a trade and got a win, I'm going to leave that. It might look different on someone else's chart, but on mine, I'd have preferred it to trigger below there, but it's clearly two legs down. It's a little break. It's definitely fitting in here, so I think it probably will go up, but I'm staying out of it just for that, because that concerns me a bit. Nick, how you doing, mate? Punching yourself in your entry. I've done all sorts of stupid things. I thumped my screen once, one of my monitors, pulled it off the stand and threw it out the window. I smashed my... Now that doesn't look too bad. I smashed the keyboard. I've punched myself in the face a couple of times, actually. Once in the jaw, and it hurt for a few days. That, if it was a bullish bar, is tempting. But that is quite a big move. So I don't see how I can kind of avoid that, really. Let's get an order ready.
Order submitted.
Anytime, mate. Anytime. Anytime. It's in our business, and I'm not doing that.
Order
it's
canceled.
in our business, and so I have a chat with Nick, who's just messages on the phone from time to time. Yeah, and the thing is as well, we're dealing with normal life as well. It requires such a lot. So I was chatting with Nick about this on the phone a week or two ago. My daughter's got ADHD, and she suffers really bad from anxiety, and she's at that age, just turned 16, where her behaviour is quite bad as well. And when I'm here with her all day, it's hard and it's stressful, and obviously as a parent you worry. And when you're trading, you kind of have to have a clear mind, and it can be really tough. And I've felt it a bit lately. I felt a little bit down lately, and my trading seems to suffer a bit. So I had a chat with Nick on the phone and felt a lot better. So it is good to chat with other people. It's nothing worse, especially with this job. It can be a lonely old profession, stuck in a room by yourself. I don't think that signal bar was terrible. In fact, I think Mac will probably mark that. Now, if I wouldn't have taken a trade, I'd have had a go at that, but I'm up $300 over my account, so I'm quite happy to leave that. Let's have a look. Bad bar on, so a few comments here. Bad bar on both charts. EFT tapping works wonders on anxiety. EFT tapping, is that something like where you tap on your forehead and then you tap on your cheek, that type of thing? See, my daughter's affected schooling massively as well. She gets the time where she physically shakes. Kind of glad I left that now. I'll look into that, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've seen something about it. You tap on your head, don't you? Then you tap on your cheek and you tap on something else. That's interesting. Let me take a photo of that. I'll have a look at that. But I was chatting with Nick about this, and he mentioned about this. It's something, some gene, and we've tried to change the diet a little bit. We're taking her off things like white bread, and we're adding some green juices and some smoothies, more sort of leafy greens to a diet. Because, well, they say all all ills start in the gut, don't they? All disease or whatever, or start in the gut. Trouble is, our diets over the years have all changed, and we ingest that many chemicals, you don't really know what these things do when they're kind of all mixed together. All the better. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that, buddy. So I cooked as well. Michael Chin, yeah. Also do it for revenge trading. I'll have a look at that. Definitely. I'm glad I left that now. It wouldn't have made my 2 points, but will it hold? Sometimes if it's a good enough bar, it may hold. So we've kind of got a leg and a leg. So that bar's held. I'm kind of staying out of this at the moment now. I've already taken a trade, so there doesn't seem to be a lot of great trades around, so I'm quite pleased I got that trade, and what I don't want to do is balls it up by taking something that isn't clear. So I'm sitting tight just at the moment. Punch my girlfriend. Yeah, I've given up. I do wonder why that's why traders have so many monitors, because they go through a few. I've broken a monitor and a keyboard once. I bumped the keyboard and all the keys popped up in the air. Let's have a little zoom out here. So this thing is clearly heading. I mean, that's a fair old move, that is. That's strong, that, isn't it? Look into adding lion's mane mushrooms to powders. And do you know something? I went out and had a few drinks a couple of months ago, and I was talking to a guy, and he says he takes these mushroom powders. They're from a local shop, and they were like capsules, like a brown powder. My wife said, why the hell did you take a brown powder capsule off a taxi driver? He could have given you anything, but he seemed quite honest. I'm sure he said it keeps you calm or something, because I was chatting to him. Lion's mane, that might be it, you know. He did. Have a look at it. It is a mushroom powder, isn't it? That might be it. I think that's it. That's the stuff, isn't it? Yeah, that was the stuff he gave me. Excuse me, just a second. Some just smoke weed. I'm not a smoker, actually. I used to socially when I was very younger, but I haven't touched them for years. So let's have a look here. There is a higher low here. Trouble is, in fact, I don't know, that's probably a terrible trade. We're probably going to trap some shorts here, but I'm staying out of this. But that worked. Well, both of them worked eventually. but it was clearly 2 legs back. The only thing that put me off that is if it was a little bit lower and a little bit more of a little bit more green, then I may have had a go at that. But it held. Often if you get a decent, I mean, it was clearly 2 legs down, so there's probably going to be some traders with stops there, and that held, which was good news. So how long have we been going for? An hour or so. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break. Well, this is sorting itself out, and I'll be back. So 3 to 5 minutes, I'll be back. Okay, I haven't missed anything, have I? Right, I'm guessing there may be a wider channel. Trouble is doing that, you've got to be so careful because we're back at the bottom now and this will entice you to go long, so I'm just going to leave that for a minute. Trouble is when you get those kind of curvy sort of, it's hard to know exactly where to go. There is a second entry long there, but to be honest with you, we are slowly working up, but it could trap you and come down here. So I'm just sitting tight here. It's just clearly sideways at the moment. If I was going to go long here, I'd want that bar sat on the bottom here. Yesterday's highs, yeah, it's up here, aren't they? Yeah, around about where the open really, wasn't it, more or less? Yeah, so that's the problem with those. It is a second entry long and it does look like it's creeping up. It's easy to suck you in that. It may work, but the trouble is if you're going to go long, really, you're already 2/3 of the way up to this, from the bottom of this, from the bottom to the top of this channel, so range rather. Yeah, see, Thomas Wade's got his like that. I'm just going to stick with this at the moment. In fact, that actually is a triple test, isn't it? 1, 2, 3. There's nothing you could do here, really. You can get chopped up here. It's only 4 points in it, 4.5 points from the top to the bottom. Nothing worse than getting a trade straight away and then ended up losing it. I hate doing that. I rarely take another trade after I've... it would have to be an absolute beauty. So, leg and a leg, leg and a leg, leg and a leg. Yeah, so if you took that one, I'll be getting a bit nervous now. See, I go for 3 points, and I don't think... No, I'll be getting out up here somewhere, so it's no good for me, that. The move's already gone, really. You've already jumped forward and come straight down and stop you out. This market's really efficient at taking out liquidity, it really is. And anything that's anywhere off the bottom or the top is really vulnerable when it's like this. That one broke above everything and then pushed down. So technically, out of this channel, we've had a break and a new high, so that's played out. But this is really bullish at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if this continued on up. We came down that area I marked. Every time we've been in here, we pushed up, bounced, and bounced the third time and pushed up. Same again, 1, 2, 3, and then up again. One bounce and up. We didn't even get to the top of it here and turn quickly, so it is kind of working. So this is kind of the high of the last few days, isn't it? So we are really just ranging, aren't we? So shorted that down to the range lows. Good on you, mate. That one there, you only go for a point, so don't you? So it's ideal, this. You can trade that if you go for a point. I go for 3 times that, so... but that's a nice bearish bar. You got, I think, the chance of that in the bottom, I think, is pretty good. And also, if you can get in on a limit order, even better. So technically that has played out. Yeah, I had a bad experience with mushrooms once. How old was I? About 22. Never had them before. A friend of mine had picked some, mixed them in a cup of coffee. Next thing I remember, I was in hospital. so just the sound of mushrooms brings back horrible memories for me. Yeah, it's just chopping around here, really. So that overshoot, that's not often you see that in an overshoot, is it? Usually we'll get a steeper correction and then it may push, but look at that, that's just took off. But it did get close to this area, and we're obviously using this area as... So I'm surprised it didn't come in a little bit more, but we got so far down, overshoot. So once you get an overshoot, it can result in a correction or a reversal. Once it's so close to that, it hasn't surprised me that it has took off from there. Yeah, I mean, if you're trading for a point, there's no reason why you can't take trades like that. You don't have to get much. I mean, look, you've got to push through to a quarter, a point and a quarter, haven't you? So if you'd have bought that on the close, you'd have been out plenty of time before that lows. You'd have been out there. I'll be shocked if this doesn't push below there and clip this bottom. So you can trade this if you're only taking a point. There was a second entry long there. You quite likely expect that's going to work for a point, and it certainly did. So you could have got a point there. That one didn't really trigger with that bar anyway, so that one you got a point there. Possible second entry long here if we can get below there and have bullish there. There's another point there. I mean, this thing's quite bullish, isn't it? Pushed up steep, then not so quite steep, then we're going sideways, but we still seem to be holding. So if I was going to take a long there, I'd want it to break below both these bars here and clear out any liquidity. Because that is a target it could clear off, and I don't want to be in a trade when it does. I'd rather wait for it to clear that, then hopefully then we're free running up. Very good gut feeling that'll work for a point. I tell you what, Yang, gut feeling's a big thing in trading, isn't it? I mean, we're studying pictures, aren't we? And all these pictures are logging in your little mental memory bank, and whenever you see a picture like this before, you do get a feeling, and that's just pure experience, isn't it, building up. I don't tend to even count anymore. I just wait for something I like the look of. I like that, I like the setup, but the bar concerned me a little bit. If that bar was just a little bit lower and a little bit more solid and a little bit more space for the top, I'd have jumped all over that, because I think it's a clear second entry long, and it did get us up to the tops. It did come back, but it held. And usually, if it's a solid enough setup, it'll hold. So yeah, gut feeling is it's like experience, isn't it? I mean, if you're an experienced doctor, you know, you see something, you get a feeling about it, don't you? And a lot of times, they go with it. I remember I used to do karate for years, and I tore some cartilage in my knee. And I went to a couple of doctors, and they said, try antibiotics, try anti-inflammatories, and all the usual stuff, try Residit, try ice, and it just wasn't going away, and I knew something wasn't right. And he sent me to a specialist, and the specialist said to me, he said, right, we can either go for an MRI, or my gut feeling is, I've seen this all day long, every day, you've torn some cartilage, rather than wait another 2 months for an ECG, then another for a scan on it, then another month or two to get you back in. Let's just book the surgery and I'll open you up and then sort it out. So, you know, experience counts for a lot, doesn't it? But you do get that gut feeling, don't you? But you can trade this stuff for a point. It's 4 points, isn't it? So top to bottom. Uh, 50-minute chart looks like it's trapping both sides. Yeah, you can bet there are going to be traps here. I'll be surprised now if that doesn't. There we go. So it's cleared out those. So if that turns nice and bullish now, second entry long, but so this could be a fail breakout, couldn't it? It's a second entry long and a possible fail breakout, but I don't know, who knows? The range is big, yeah. Absolutely. Could go anywhere, couldn't it? I mean, price has been odd lately, isn't it? There's been a lot of choppiness. I mean, look at all that. That was okay. That wasn't a bad day. That I think it was the day before that, wasn't it? That was a horrible choppy day, but this is not too bad. At least we're getting moves. That wasn't pleasant, was it? I mean, we had a little bit down, but then it just up, down. It's just whipping up and down in it. Or whipsawing as what's it calls it? Matt calls it. So most breakouts of range fail. That's come down quite a bit. That channel has had a break and made a new low there. You can clearly see there's a lot of congestion right the way around this area here, and you can see it in there as well. So we could bounce here. We kind of did the same. We came down, we pushed out a bunch of times, then dropped. So it could drop from here. It certainly could. It certainly looks like it is. Slightly, but pretty bullish bar there triggered. That's almost going to get stopped out because there's going to be traders going along here thinking the breakout fell. The breakout's going to fail, and that looks like it's targeting that area. It may not work. It may hold. But as that's played out, I want to avoid going long, even if we get a higher low here, because this could be a channel down. So I don't really want to be getting stuck going along here at the moment. So look at that. There's a higher low there. So this could go back into the range. I'm not taking it at the moment because that's quite a big drop out there. So as it's made a new high from that channel, I'm just sitting on the fence here. But that did work nice and quickly. I don't think it was a terrible trade if you like trading these fell breakouts. I tend to not do them so much. So this is interesting. So is that going to stop this out? So that went up enough for a scalp, I think, for certain. Yeah, it wouldn't have pushed through for my 3 though, but if you'd have had 2 points or anything less there. So you think almost definitely that's going to get stopped out. We pushed up right to the bottom of this and then turned. So let me look at this now. So touch, 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 touch. I think we could get 2 legs down here now. I mean, we got right close to pushing back in, then it just turned. So there's going to be some stops there and quite likely there. So let's see if this comes down. So channel down, first attempt to push higher, second attempt to push higher. Let's see if we trigger this and come down. Now straight back into the range. Hey Tony, how you doing, buddy? Oh, this may be interesting. See if we can get a lower high. 2 attempts to push higher. We can get a lower high below that EMA. That would interest me in going short. We've got up to the midline. Let's see if we can push below that EMA. Lower high, yeah, I think it'd be nice.
Order submitted.
I was kind of hoping it would trigger that bar because it's relatively bullish.
Order cancelled. I've got to trigger something here to get a second entry short. Oh, it's not quite getting up there. I was hoping it would. And then drop. Come on, push up. We've had one attempt, pull back out. We've got to have another go, really. I can't just take something here. Definitely going to be liquidity down here, without a doubt. Channel down there with a break. One attempt to push up. We've got to have it. There's not really a second entry short here. We've got to get above something here. It's not really a lower high because it hasn't really broke below above anything, is it? So that's the trouble. If we'd have triggered above this, that would make that more interesting then. But we've had one leg up. We may get a second leg up. So it's got to trigger something up here, really. and then start to turn down. Now, it could still go up, but if it's made one attempt, two nice big strong bar, and it's pulled straight back. So if we can get another attempt and then drop below the bottom of this range here, I think traders will give up then. But a bullish bar here that triggers and then comes down bearish, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I was kind of hoping it would tick, but it hasn't ticked above any of them. I mean, that's relatively bullish, I think. It's certainly in the top third. It came down here and pushed right up to that EMA, but if that triggered, then that'll be a lower high. But the way this is looking, first leg up, second leg up. We've got to get above here really to make it into a lower high or a second entry short, however it forms. We just don't want it starting to stack up. I mean, we have had two legs up, so I think if you got to stop above it and you took this, I'd say that's relatively safe. Come on, get up there. See, after this big push up, we could get a correction. So, kind of a leg back. Another leg back. We'll get something like this before it pushes up. Either way, we need to trip some of these. So, just check there's not a larger channel there. You've got to pay attention to that. Touch, 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 touch. And if you pull that in tight, it fits perfectly there. I'm not saying it is, but I think you have to be aware of it. So it has triggered above there. So that is a lower high. It's very tempting. Trouble is, it's the move's already happened, really. Channel down, two attempts to push higher. You'd want to catch that on a limit order, really. It's 13 ticks. I'm just not a fan of this. The bar doesn't look terrible, but it's just a little bit choppy here. I don't think it's a terrible trade. It's just such a big bar. It came back and it's triggered here, so far you haven't been able to get back into it, but you just don't know whether there's something wider there. See if we can trigger along here and take this failure, but look at that. So if you took that now, it's such a big bar. I don't know how many points you would have... So if you took it a tick below there, you'd have squeezed a point, that's it. It'd have to push past a point to it at point and a quarter. So all of a sudden, look at that, woof. Channel down, one attempt to go higher, second attempt. If we can trigger this, there's a failure then, so that's more interesting, but it's a little bit choppy here. I'd want to trigger that bar though. Okay, excuse me a second. Sorry about that. Just have some parcels coming. I think it's quite light coming down, so I think that would have worked. Trouble is, it's such a big bar, and not only that, it is clearly congested there, so that it's just hard to say. And then when that started coming back there, but it's clearly two attempts to go higher. So the setup I don't think was terrible, but one, it was just a little bit of a big bar, really. If it had been a smaller bar up here, I may have had a go, but it is just a little bit congested. Let's have a look at who took it. Too much congestion. Thomas Wade's left it. He made too flat. So I think one's taken it. So it does look like this is working down now. So that channel is at a break and a new high. So we've got a leg and a leg. So look. Lower high was too stacked for me. Yeah, I agree. Just is a little bit whippy, isn't it? We could get another push up there. Could have a leg up. Trigger that and have another leg up. It's at the failure, so you might, yeah, you take it easy, buddy. Yeah, I know that was a terrible trade. The trouble is, if you've already took a trade today, I tend to get extra cautious there, which I don't think is a bad thing. And it was quite large. It was a bit smaller. I may have took it at a go. I mean, when it came back here, I was tempted to get in on a limit order because it had only gone down a point. But when you see that coming back, you start questioning your motives. So I left it in the end. I'm up a nice 3 points for the day, so the last thing I want to do is jeopardise that. It's not a terrible day today. We are moving quite well. Unfortunately, from there to there, there's no real way in. Can't trade this. I think that wasn't a bad trade. I think Mac will probably mark that as a failure. That one he'll mark as well. I'm pretty sure of it. So far, I'd say probably that one as well. I think, apart from the signal bar, but I've seen Mac. In fact, he did a live trade, didn't he? Recorded a live trade a couple of months ago, and his bar looked like that. Was quite poor. I wouldn't have taken it, but he did. So the context is I think, quite likely just as important as the bar, if not more. But you can clearly see there's 2 legs back. So it certainly worked, didn't it? For a couple of points or a scalp or whatever you want to call it. It never came below there. That's as high as it got. So I wouldn't have taken it. It's just not much room. And the signal bar was just a bit weak. Okay, we've hit that measured move. Nice. So, new high, 2 legs back. Sorry about that. Okay, bearish bar here. Unfortunately, 1, 2. I tend to just avoid them. It's only really a first entry. It may work, but we have got to the bottom, which is interesting. Sam will take those sometimes, I've noticed, the first entries. I mean, how it's looking, if it is bearish, you'd probably expect it to come down. But I'm a bit of a stickler for... at the moment, I've got 3 and 1 starting tomorrow. Paul, how you doing? Excellent. Brilliant. Yeah, 3 at the moment. They're there. There they are. That's an evaluation I did earlier. So 3, they're up just over $1,000 each. It's the PA ready for tomorrow. So the 4th one ready for tomorrow. A lot of changes lately. Moved from Florida to Chicago last week. Need a break. Yeah, moving's a big... they say something like moving is about the 3rd stressful thing you can do in your life or something like that. Having kids is definitely one of them. There's no argument there. Having a wife as well, that's pretty stressful. But yeah, see, do you know, as strange as it happened, we were kind of a military family. I had a military stepdad from the age of about 3. My dad was military as well. He was killed in Belfast when I was young. And military families, typically, if anybody knows anything about UK based, they tend to move around every 2 years. So we've been all over the place. We've moved somewhere 2 years, moved to Northern Ireland 2 years, moved to Germany 2 years, moved to Cyprus 2 years, back to the UK for 2 years, over to Hong Kong for 2 years. So, you know, you tend to just move and move and move. So I actually kind of like moving, but obviously it's all right when you got parents to do it for you, but when you've got to do it yourself, it's a big old thing. Yeah, it does, yeah. In fact, I remember when we sort of got out the military life, I did miss staying in one spot. But I was kind of lucky in a way, because when you've got a military family, you know everyone, so you all move together. So it's not like you're leaving your friends, your work, your school, your family behind. Everyone kind of moves. So I love that life. I did. Really enjoyed it. And then you get the nice postings like Cyprus, which was brilliant. Love living in Cyprus. And then you get a place called Catterick Garrison, which is in the middle of the Yorkshire Moors, where you get thigh-length snow throughout the winter. But I love that life I did, moving around. Everything's exciting when you're a kid, isn't it, moving? But when you've got to move yourself, you've got to do all the work yourself. That's not so easy, is it? So, did we have a measured leg? Yes, we did, didn't we? So you grew up in Chicago, and they call that the Windy City, don't they? So you're moving to where Florida, wasn't it? Oh, from Florida. Okay, so you're guessing Florida's warm and Chicago's a little bit cooler. But yeah, it's not easy, is it, moving? It does take it out of you. Sick of the heat. Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to live in a nice hot country, eat all year round. But they do say that a lot of people, yeah, it does. Yeah. Life's. I remember when I lived in Cyprus, life just moved at a slower pace. That's all you can do when you're living in a hot country. You just got to move a bit slower, otherwise you're constantly walking around sopping with sweat all day long. But they do say we're lucky in the UK because of the weather we have. We do have a mix. And when you've had a warm summer, and we had a warm summer year before last, I think we had 42 degrees centigrade, which is the hottest the UK has ever been. And when you've had a hot summer, it is nice to get those nice, cooler, crisp nights in. And then when you've had a cold winter, cold winter, home with your family, nice hot beef stew in front of the telly, fire going. It's got that nice appeal, isn't it? And then Christmas. And then when you get sick of the cold, the spring comes and you get that little bit of,
spark a little bit of sort of bounce in your stride. So I think we kind of have a nice mixture, although we do get a fair amount of rain. I think even kids in Wales now are being born with web feet. It's that wet there. But hey, Karina, how you doing, my dear? You doing? Okay, there is a second entry short there. Is that a bad trade? I don't think it is a bad trade. There's just something about it I don't like. Now, so I'm going to stay out of this. We are working down here, but also we've had 2 legs. So there's always a possibility we could try and maybe retest here because we've got 1 leg up on a break. So we could have another leg. So I think that is a little bit trappy for me. We got a leg with a break. There we go, pop. So if you took that second entry short, and I don't blame you, it is a second entry short in a downtrend where it's hit that. You still work? No, not anymore. Not anymore. My wife's had a bit of a promotion, so she earns a lot better money now. And I make a bit of money from, not a lot. It doesn't give me a full-time wage from affiliates, but it gives me enough to be able to stay home. And my daughter's got quite bad ADHD, so it's useful me being at home. So it's kind of win-win for me at the moment. How do you balance your life? It's not easy, mate. It's not easy. It's hard work with a 16-year-old daughter with ADHD because she's, well, you know what teenagers are like. They learn to use their gob pretty quickly, don't they? So it can be stressful at times. I do feel like sometimes I'm sort of stuck in the house all day. But this is my kind of little break trading. That's why I like chatting with other people. Very limited. I actually, I kind of feel lucky in a way, because a lot of guys work full time. I've got, I was in the rat race with lots of other people, getting up at, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, going out in the freezing cold, coming home in the dark. But you got to do it. You got to pay the bills. But mental health issues are really tiring, especially if you're isolated. Yeah. She's hard work, my daughter. She suffers from debilitating anxiety to the point where she shakes. A lot of it stemmed from COVID. See, the thing is, when your kids are young, when my daughter was from the age of about 1, she went to nursery 1 day a week, and then when she was 2, she went 2 days a week. So you slowly wean your kids off, don't you? As they get a bit older, you've got to give them a bit of distance and get them used to being without you for times. And then COVID sort of hit. Kids are sent home from school. I think they were home for about 5 months here. And all of a sudden, when you're a young kid and you're told it's not safe outside and there's 2,000 people a day dying, it can get scary. And that created a lot of problems for a lot of kids in the UK and probably worldwide, actually. That kind of thing years ago. Lines made and really helpful. In fact, when we're talking about the mushroom powder, my daughter was sat in the bed behind me, actually. She's bored. Kids are off school at the moment. And she said my niece she's been over in New Zealand. She had a coffee with some sort of mushroom powder in for anxiety or something like that. So she'd heard of that. And as I say, this taxi driver gave me one. I can't remember whether it did anything to me because about an hour after he dropped me off, I'd had about 3 or 4 double whiskies. I was kind of somewhere else anyway, but yeah, I'm going to look into that. But she has, I don't know, most of you guys with girlfriends and wives know what PMT is, premenstrual tension. Women sort of, that time of the month, that can be a nightmare to live with. My wife used to be that. She knew she was doing it. She just kind of couldn't help it. And my daughter's kind of like that all the time. Lots of shouting, lots of screaming, and absolutely wears you out. So you got to kind of, being at home, I cop for all that, and obviously you worry about them as well, don't you? So I have had times where I felt pretty low. And also it does affect your trading as well. Anything that's going on in your life affects your trading. So I'm trying hard to make that work. I'm trying hard to sort of keep her stable as well. You want your kids to be happy, don't you?
But it is worrying. But we are finally getting some treatment. Trouble is the NHS is on its arse in the UK. When she was eventually put forward to treating, the waiting list was about 3 to 5 years, which was absolutely horrendous. Wow, look at that. So I did think that may push up and retest this area. I didn't think it smashed through. Coming up, I started around about 4 years ago. It was Christmas. It was Christmas 4 years ago. And I'd never done any trading before in my life. But I used to do something called matched betting, which is taking advantage of the free bets the bookmakers give you, using sort of bits of software. There are a few companies that provide the software, and I did that from a computer at home and just made myself just a bit of extra cash here or there. But after you've been doing it a couple of years, the bookmakers get wise and they stop giving you any type of special offers. So when I started to stop doing that, I heard people talking about Betfair trading, which was trading sports bets. And kind of when I started looking at that, that's when I stumbled across a guy called Andrew Lockwood and started watching his videos and then become kind of hooked. Definitely sent a lot of people. Yeah, well, because a lot of people were at home really and kind of what do you do at home? I took that fail second entry for 2 points. Good on you. That one there. Yeah, I was just after this. I'm just kind of sitting tight because I don't know whether it is going to continue down. But yeah, you definitely trapped some shorts there. No argument there. But how far it would go, I wasn't sure. But my gut feeling it was going to test this area. I didn't feel like it smashed straight through. Yeah, it was a funny time, COVID, wasn't it? It was kind of... Yeah, I know it sounds a bit morbid, but it was kind of nice in a way because, you know, families are so busy nowadays. Kids are at school, parents are at work. They don't spend a lot of time together. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I didn't take that trade. I was, well, as good as convinced it was going to push up, but I just didn't know how far it would go. But yeah. Yeah, it was a funny time, COVID, but it was kind of nice in a, well, I shouldn't say that really because it was okay for me. I never lost anybody, but it must have been devastating for families. But we did spend a lot of family time together, which you don't often do nowadays. But yeah, I speak to a lot of guys started trading COVID. I think it was just after COVID for me. What was it? I can't remember now. When was COVID? 4 years ago. So it may have been during COVID. I can't think now. I know it was 4 years this Christmas. There was a book I bought that I purchased on the 19th of, I still have it in my Amazon thing, on the 19th of November 4 years ago, well, 4 years next month ago. Trading the financial markets, first book I bought. So, are we just retesting this? And is this going to come down or is it going to push up? But yeah, it was a funny old thing that, wasn't it? COVID. I think none of us have ever really experienced anything like that. Certainly not in my lifetime. You kind of think, really, something like that will never happen, don't you? You know, we're that far ahead nowadays. And, you know, we hear about sort of the great flu pandemic or the Spanish flu or that killed millions. But you tend to think that happened back in the dark ages. But, you know, with modern technology, modern medicine now, you wouldn't think it would happen. But it just goes to show you never quite know what's around the corner. Where are you from, Paul, anyway? Are you UK based, are you? Oh, of course you're not. It's all right, miles away. Sorry, mate. I just looked up your comments from Chicago. Of course you're not. Of course you're not. It was our World War II, yeah. Just had to sit at home, yeah. Yeah, USA, yeah, I got you. Yeah, I suppose so. We had that, well, I say we, I certainly didn't, but it was pretty rough during that time, Second World War, the Blitz and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a bit odd, wasn't it? it was such a strange feeling. I've never seen roads that quiet in my life. It was just eerie. It was kind of like a film. I'm surprised they've never really made any movies about COVID. They probably have, but what I will say is I think we owe a lot of credit to doctors and nurses and all the people that work in hospitals, because that must have been terrifying. You know, people working in hospitals, seeing people coming in and dying and having sick people all around you. It must have been horrendous. You know, you used to see some of the pictures in the press of, you know, the bruises and red marks just from constantly wearing masks. It, you know, some mask you buy, you can't breathe properly. It must have been horrible. And we had coyotes walking down. Really, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, they must have even been shot, but it must have been horrible working in hospitals. You worked in the very slow times, really. I know. I suppose it depends how your sort of medical system works a bit. I know we struggled in the UK. They did sort of try to build extra hospitals, and I think lots of military hospitals that sort of might have been outdated got pulled in. But yeah, it must have been scary. I mean, well, obviously other countries found it worse. I think we were losing about 2,000 people a day at one point. But obviously places, you know, like you guys in the US, a lot bigger country, a lot more people. But then we had all the rumours and all the it's not real and all this sort of crap. It's man-made. They're doing it. You had all the conspiracy theories come out. But I believe it's around again at the moment, isn't it? You were in there for 15 years, really. Where are you, Laughter? Are you US? Are you? West Los Angeles. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah, I know our medical system. So you've got a private medical system over there, so you kind of pay and you get treated pretty quick. Over here, there is a private medical service, but it's expensive. But obviously, we pay a certain amount of our tax and national insurance for the NHS. But the NHS is absolutely on its arse at the moment. I mean, if you had sort of, I don't know, a knee injury, some torn cartilage, you'd be looking at 3 years before you got into an operating theatre, unless you paid private, which obviously, as we know, it's not cheap. So it's kind of never really recovered from COVID. It made such a dent on it. The jab came out. You retired, yeah. It's weird, isn't it? How quick these things can come out. You see people around you with cancer and all this sort of thing, and let's face it, cancer kills a lot of people. But there's no profits in curing people, is there? But it's weird with that. It adds such a damage on, you know, sort of employment and the whole sort of service production sort of wheel. But they ended up finding something for it, so it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Whether, you know, there's cures for things like cancer or there's no profit. There's no profit in curing people, is there? But they did come out with it pretty quick. They put it together. We've had a push up here and we've had one attempt to go lower. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot about this. It's weird, isn't it? You grow up thinking fruit, vegetables and all that sort of stuff, but there seems to be more and more evidence coming out about this carnivore diet and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? You'll get one doctor or one so-called expert say carnivore, get away from carbs, Vegetables, oxalates, not good for you. Plants are killing you. Go to meat. And then you get the shoe on the other foot saying plant-based, leave meat alone, it's cancerous and all this sort of stuff. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. I see arguments for both sides. Can't trade the S based on what NQ is doing. Not today. Sometimes you can. Sometimes they work hand in hand. They're all sometimes hard to tell them apart. My trading charts to bar charts less emotion. I'll trade my bar charts less emotion. For me, green a day for me. Good on you, mate. Good on you. 1950s doctor used to prescribe cigarette. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Lots results today messing things up. I have 3 shots of Pfizer. I have to travel. That's it, Pfizer. I think I took was it Pfizer I had, I think? There was 2, wasn't there? Pfizer and something else. Yeah, you certainly will, mate. It was quite weird, wasn't it? Everyone just to go home, stop working. You happy with the budget? I haven't caught anything of it today, Scruff, actually. I know it was around about 12:30, I think. I've heard the rumours, employment, I think basic wage is going up, or living wage is going up to, I don't know, what, £12 or something. I've heard little bits, but not too much. So I will catch up with it later. I dare say I'll be over the news, but I got to the charts around about 12:30ish, I think, something like that. We're an hour early in the UK at the moment. You guys catch up next week. Johnson, yeah, Johnson & Johnson was another one, wasn't it? Rachel, isn't it? Rachel Reeves, the new Chancellor, isn't it? Okay, happy days, look at that. Okay, so are we going to get a push up to this level up here? Nothing special, no. I am surprised they've kept that rule about I mean, they normally have an extra heating payment for older people, for pensioners retired. They have an extra called a winter fuel payment, which they've abolished. Strange, isn't it? The oldest are the most vulnerable, really. They're people who've worked and paid into the tax system. And you've got to look after your young and old, haven't you? But that's a bit disgraceful. I thought they might do a U-turn on that, but they haven't. The input BTC daily chart. I haven't looked, mate. I know it was up to 72,000 yesterday, I think. 74 has been the highest so far this year. So I think if Trump wins the election, I think Bitcoin will soar. He's pro-Bitcoin. I know he was there talking at the Bitcoin convention a couple of months ago. So I know he's pro-Bitcoin. It's it's just a fraction under $15 under 71,000 at the moment. So it's inching to that. Another 2,000 will be at all-time highs again. So that may coincide with the elections on Tuesday, I think. Am I angry about Brexit? No, not really, mate. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? You've got these guys and girls who go to places like Eton and Oxford and Cambridge and they study politics. So you've got one expert on the left saying we should leave the European Union. You've got another expert on the right saying we should stay in. If the experts can't make their mind up and can't come to the conclusion, what are the likes of me and you got? So, no, I wasn't too bothered, really. I think the initial thing is, in fact, the rollout of the vaccine, wasn't it? The COVID vaccine apparently was a lot quicker because we'd left the EU, but I don't really know, mate. Trouble is, when you're busy doing your own job and your own life, you never quite know all the ins and outs. It interests me, politics, but I'm certainly not very knowledgeable about it. So it didn't really bother me so much that we left. I know it was costing us a fortune to stay in. It'd be nice to make some of your own rules. But we've got issues now with the boats coming over, asylum seekers coming over from France in by the drogues. We need to do something about that. It's costing this country an absolute arm and a leg. I absolutely agree that people in war-torn countries have a right to get out there and get to a safer country. But the trouble is they come through half a dozen safe countries before they get to the UK. So you can't say, well, I don't blame them. France is a perfectly safe country, but they still try and get to the UK because we're an easy target. We just throw away money at them. It's quicker because it didn't mean the safety requirements vaccine. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know whether it was good to leave or not. I don't know. Some say it is, some say it isn't. Yeah, trouble is you don't know if there's going to be any long-term problems with it, but it was such a weird virus, wasn't it, how it took people. Some people it hardly affected, others it killed. It was weird. Some people are still having effects from it, what I think they call long COVID. Some people are still struggling. I mean, if you look at our presenter, Kate's, what's her name, Kate? Her husband, Derek, died of it in the end. He was I think he was in his early 50s. And it put him in hospital for, 9 months, I think. He was in intensive care for 9 months, came out, was just never the same. Bedridden and died after a few years. So strange how it affected people. What do the UK about Carmela? I don't think people have got an opinion so much, mate, because it doesn't really affect us. I dare say it probably does somewhere along the line, whether it's down to, the economy or something. I don't really know. I tend to have got an opinion. See, Trump comes over as a bit odd sometimes. He doesn't come over as very presidential, but, they do say he did a lot for the country. So I don't know really, mate. I don't know. I mean, he didn't walk away very, very sort of in the right way, did he? He tried to hold on as long as possible, but you either love him or you hate him. Some people say they can't stand him. Other people say he did well for the country. So, but Carmela Harris. She was his kind of number two, wasn't she? She was the president's number two. I liked Obama. In fact, I like Clinton. I know maybe about 10 or 12 years ago, I think it was it the Conservative or Labour conference down in Brighton? He talked, and I actually thought he came over really well. That was obviously when he was out. I quite liked Obama. I did. I liked his wife as well. There was talk about her running. I liked her. Yeah, I liked Obama. I liked him. Inflation over here rose drastically. Can't wait for Trump to come back. But that's it. Love him or hate him, he doesn't come over as very presidential, some of the things he says, but is it more important about actions, rather than how people come over? My wife is RN, talking about RN. RN, registered nurse, is that? To get the vaccine, I should have. Oh yeah. I see. That was a big thing. That wasn't it? Saying to nurses, you have to have this, otherwise you're going to lose your job. Can you say that to somebody? I mean, I absolutely get someone saying, "Well, hold on a minute. This is a vaccine that you've come up with in the last few months. How can you guarantee me there's going to be no, there's going to be no side effects. It was strange, all that. It really was, saying you had to have it. It's certainly nice to be given the option earlier, but I think forcing someone, otherwise you're going to lose your job. I don't see how you can do that unless you can guarantee there's going to be no side effects or any long-term effects. All-time highs in the market during Biden, and yeah, I think Biden was okay. Ex-military man. It was a shame to see him. I watched him when he did that sort of that talk they had where he kind of got a little bit jumbled up. But he's an old guy, isn't he? Most people in their 80s over here are either at home walking around with a chair or one of those walkers, or in an old people's home, kind of running the country. One hell of a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. But I think his time's come, hasn't it? He's, excuse me, you don't like to see an oldish guy sort of struggle like that. Just would have been elected. Yeah. I know there was rumours when we had our elections that Boris Johnson may come back. I thought that was going to be weird. Boris Johnson back in the UK and Trump back in the US. That'd be weird. But he was supposed to be good for the country. He did good for the economy, apparently. I don't know too much about it. I don't follow US politics as much because it doesn't really affect me. I'm aware of it a little bit more now because obviously trade the financial markets, and they kind of have bearing on what happens over there. But it'll be interesting to see if Trump does get in, what happens with the markets. I believe crypto will soar. So if anybody's got money in crypto, I think they're probably looking for Trump to be voted or elected. But yeah, I liked Obama. I thought his wife was really nice as well. I saw her on a couple of chat shows and that. She came over really nice, actually. Really nice and genuine. I thought Obama was a genuine guy as well. But yeah, I remember Clinton. I liked him. And so did Monica Lewinsky. You can't blame a guy, can you? I think people say all of our brain resides between our ears. It's not necessarily the case. There's 25% of it sits somewhere else. Yeah, we all do. Of course we do. Guys are, well, they're sort of red-blooded, aren't they? They think very differently, don't they? So I'm guessing this. In fact, we probably haven't got that. Never look. I didn't take a trade, but what are your thoughts on the second entry at the EMA and the intersection of the downtrend and uptrend about 30 minutes ago? Somewhere around here, yeah. That one there. What do you say? Second entry short. You're talking about that one, aren't you, bud? Yeah, I avoided it, mate. As it was happening, I said it looks like a trap to me. And reason being is we had that as a range, a bit of a range at the time. And we've got a leg up there with the break. I don't know, there's just something about that. That's a leg. There's not much of a leg there. Not only that, we've had a perfect measured move down. Sometimes we'll have 2 attempts to go lower, 2 attempts to go higher. So my gut feeling is we're going to come up and test this. So I thought that was a trap. You took it long. Yeah. Would I have taken it long? Probably not, just in case it does work. But it just had alarm bells. My feeling was we were going to try and retest these areas after 2 legs down. But what I will say is we've had this channel up and we've had a break out of it, 2 legs down and eventually up to a new move. So we could be reversing.
we've had such a big move up, so it could reverse. So if I'm not sure, I kind of just sit out of it. But the way I see it is a lot of times it'll trigger your bar, stop it out, and then go in the direction you think it will. So that's what I was thinking. So I had two schools of thought. It may trigger it, come a bit higher, stop it out, and then come bearish and come down. Or another thought is I thought it may come up and test this area, and then obviously we just slide straight through it and continued up. But you do get better at spotting something. That just doesn't feel right for some reason. I like to kind of see two legs. That to me was a leg of break and a matching high. So it's just, I don't know, you get used to just seeing something, and I tend to look at it now and it either makes me feel a bit odd, for want of a better word, or I really like it. But usually if I like a trade, I'll just jump straight in. But that, I just thought, there's something I don't like. Nice ones for runners. Yeah, I mean, that worked lovely, didn't it? So I'm guessing now this thing looks like it's, see, I have a couple of times put a bigger channel here. It's probably a bit too early and it's a bit obscure, to be honest with you. But, you know, if we get up here and then get back to there. So you're certainly working up anyway. But as I've taken a trade today, I'm up $300 times 3, so I tend to get extra cautious. Nothing worse than giving money back. First 3-ish years of trading, I would get burned by those every time. Yeah, but that's the good thing about getting Birmingham, because burned by them, you learn, don't you, mate? And you get so much more value. Let's rephrase that. You learn so much from your losses. You don't learn a lot from your wins. I suppose you learn about the picture and the entry, but your losses tend to affect you more in an emotional way. So you do learn from your losses, and there's nothing worse than taking losses. But if you look at them, if you look at it, the process of it, it teaches you not to take them. Kev, how you doing, buddy? Have you ever heard of Mac telling about continuation setups? Continuation setups. So do you mean something like this? So we have a channel up like that. Pathway. You're on about this kind of thing. Getting a bullish bar here. Is that what you mean? Channel up to, you know, like a correction. Is that what you mean? I look for these trades. I love them when you see them break perfect measured leg, and you'll obviously hear Mac talk about that's usually the centre of the move, and then hopefully we end up getting another leg after that. I'm not sure whether that's what you mean, bud. But I love those. If you can get a nice bullish bar there, and if you don't want that one, a higher low, they often work higher. You could be pointing at the centre move. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So you're on about here, leg and a leg. Yeah, I know what you're saying, mate. Yeah. So big push up. It is a correction. That's why I left going short, because I was thinking it may come up and test this. It actually pushed through it, but yeah, big move up. It was a perfect measured leg, which is why I avoided any type of short there. But I still wasn't ready to go long, just in case it does come down. But it wasn't what I would consider. I mean, it was a failure, but as it closed still within this, I don't know, I just I kind of left it, because sometimes, as I say, it'll trigger it, stop it out, and then come down. But yeah, it's definitely a correction. It's just an odd move, this, because it's got a bit of an arc to it. I think it's more like a sharp trend. Let's say sharp uptrend, green candles, one red candle, and continuation. It says if you know what's going on. Yeah.
You can make it, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's funny trading, isn't it? It's, he talks about certain things for advanced traders, and I think when you get to that level, I watched the video and he was talking, he wants people to kind of learn it organically. He gives you enough, and when you're kind of ready for that next level, you kind of find it, you know what I mean? Daniel took one like that last week, posted on his Facebook page. He has started posting. Let's have a look. He has started posting his charts again, hasn't he? Let's have a little look. Let's move this over here. Let's have a look. So you're not about that one, are you? No. So look. Wasn't one of those, was it? That's that thing I mentioned earlier. How many years did it take you to reach profitability? Well, some were saying not yet, but they tend to be between 4 and 6 years, which seems to sound a bit right. Some between 2 and 4. I'm coming up to 4 years now. Some less than 2. But obviously a lot not yet. But we took it 5 days ago. Let's have a look. So 5 days ago, so you're on about one of those. You're on about this thing here, are you? Was it this one here, bud, yeah? Yeah, so I can't, in fact, let's get it. I can move it a bit. Let's get it a bit closer. It's finished there, isn't it? Yeah, channel down, break, lower high. Yeah, it's after that big move and the break and then the push down. Would I have taken that one? Yeah, I suppose so. I often take them now. Yeah, you do after a while. I started probably 6 months ago. I started taking triple test. I'd always kind of avoided them, but a lot of I would say probably 80% of my trades were 6 months ago were higher lows. I started avoiding second entries because sometimes it would trap you. So I kind of went for higher lows, but then I was finding I was struggling for trades. So I just started looking through charts and I was noticing triple tests when we were hitting it 3 times and trapping along. So I started to take them and I started to get some success with them. So I take them now. So it is just getting extra strings to your bow, isn't it? You know, focus on your second entries and your higher lows. And then kind of fail break. I don't take a lot of fail breakouts. Sometimes I do. Fail breakouts I will. Breakout pullback I won't. Pullbacks I won't so much because I've not taken lots of them. But I think as you get more experience, you kind of expand your setup. You kind of set up list, don't you, and take more and more trades. I very nearly took that. I wanted to take that, but it was above the EMA. But a lot of times a channel down here, 2 pulls. I see Daniel taking a lot of those. And it worked. There was another one somewhere. That one there. Fell breakout, channel break, new high, bearish bar. I ummed and ahed about that one, but I'd just taken this one. But that worked beautifully. So a lot of times when we do that channel and two legs up with the bearish bar, trapping a bull bar, or vice versa, often work. And it's kind of a channel with a correction and then sort of continuation. But I really wanted to take that, but I left it. But with time and experience, I suppose you'll start taking more and more of them. How long we've been going for? 2.5 hours. Again, see, there is some support around here, so yeah, you kind of learn a feel for this, don't you? But your losses, we all hate taking losses, but they're actually great lessons, but you can't kind of see it at the time. And you really do a lot. You get a lot of value from them. Not financial value. Well, I suppose you could say you do. But you definitely learn a lot from your failures. But there's kind of nothing more frustrating when you're learning. Okay, so we've got a leg down there. Break. See if we get a new low here, another leg. Okay, so if we get another leg down here. So leg and leg. Touch, touch, touch. I am just aware of this. There's not been a lot of trades around today on yeah, I'm just flicking through Thomas Wade's. There's not a lot of charts posted today. There's certainly not a lot of trades. Yeah, lunch line, absolutely. Although it's a bit earlier in the, what is it? It's 4 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock Eastern time. We've come back an hour, haven't we? I think you guys catch up on, I think Monday. You caught up on Monday. No, there's not a lot of trades posted. I was just looking that, mate. I've just looked on here, and that's the chart I've got, but he's got that with the break. So going long gear could trap you, couldn't it? So I was just, I like to flick through and just see what people have put. So he's got that there. So there's a break. He's probably looking for a new high. He's already had a break. 2 pushes up to a new high. So longs could get trapped. It's 12 noon, not 11. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my mistake. Of course it is. Yeah, my mistake. We've come back an hour, haven't we? I still think 5 hours. So that's, yeah. 12 o'clock. Yeah, I think you guys come back. Sorry, don't you? You guys come back. Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's why I kind of like having this, because the trouble is you guys can see my charts. I can't see yours. So I kind of just, if I'm not sure, I'll just see what the thoughts are, the general idea out there, what people are thinking. See, he's got that as a break. So Thomas Wade, he hasn't posted for a bit. What's that? 3. So he hasn't posted for 30 minutes, which is unusual. Unless he's taking a break. He usually says so. So rolling over. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was the best fitting channel in the world, is it? But what I will say is it is a little bit of a range. So is this going to push up and retest the bottom? Is it going to come back into the range? Is there a second entry long and it's continue higher? I don't know. There's definitely some support there. You can see it. We're struggling to get it. And then we took a dive there and we're kind of in that same area. But probably, even if it's not going to go up, expect it to maybe test this area here. So a leg and a leg. So, I mean, it might not be a bad trade, but I'm sitting tight here because if it is a break, a new high, it'll trap some longs there. And that's triggered and already it's starting to come down. So I'd say that's probably vulnerable. If I ever think that, which is why most of the time I'll avoid second entry longs. Wait, the high low is a better indication we are going up. So many times they'll trap, but if we've had a break, 2 pushes to a new high, second entry long trap. The trouble is the overall picture to me is a bit sketchy. Now you may go short here and trap that second entry long, but I'm not convinced we're really coming down at the moment. So I've got mixed feelings here. So because what you may jump in here, it may push down 3 ticks, stop that out and turn back up. So for me, this isn't necessarily coming down at the moment. It's just a couple of legs. So we're kind of leapfrogging up. So this may not come straight down. And I go for 3 points. So bar I finish it, we're already here. We're already here, sorry. So I'm just sitting tight. I'd expect that to get stopped out. It wouldn't push down that way without taking that out, because it is a second entry long and there's going to be traders trapped, so there'll be some liquidity below there. So I'll be surprised if it doesn't. Sometimes if it's strong enough, it'll hold. But it's sitting out this one, yeah, I think as well. Sometimes they do hold because it is 2 legs back and it is a bullish bar, and if the overall is long at the moment, but I'm just a bit unsure. It's it's hard to say where it's going at the moment. We know most breakouts of a range will fail, so that's a reason to go long, but we've already had a break here and a new high. So that's a reason to go short. So there's mixed feelings here, but that to me looks like a trap.
But I'm not quite ready to go short yet. Because we could have 2 legs down. We could end up doing this, 2 legs down, and then take off again. The same sort of thing. We pushed up, went sideways, 2 legs back. Pushed up, went sideways, 2 legs back. Could trigger that stopper. How many times you get your stop triggered off in a trap? You stop triggering a trap and then it takes off in the same direction. There's nothing more frustrating than that. It may hold, because if this is the bottom of a channel, it is below it, so you may get lucky, but my guess is it's not going to come that far and they're going to try and take out that stop. Yeah, surely it's when it's when it's holding like that. Usually, it's well, so usually sometimes it'll just flick below. Possible wider range. Yeah, there certainly could be, mate. Yeah, it's hard to say, really. You know, I used to get so frustrated that I couldn't read what was going on, but there are times where it's just not clear. And I've given up worrying about it, trying to figure it out. If it's a mess, you can't figure it out. Like Max says, the skilled traders are staying out of it now. If the skilled traders can't trade it, you know, what are the likes of I got? So sometimes you just got to stay out of it when it's doing this. It could go up or down. So I've got mixed feelings at the moment. How long have I been going for? 2 hours and 45. I'm going to finish in a minute. In fact, I'm going to finish now, actually. It's usually 2.5 to 3 hours. I'm happy today. I've had a nice trade, nice early, worked nice. A little bit risky because of the open, but I really like the setup. We're clearly working down there. We had 2 clear legs up, clearly a triple test, a bullish bar, really bullish higher low, bullish failure. Trapped them. Came down, trapped another one there, another bullish bar, came down there. For me, there's a load of liquidity down here, so my gut feeling this is going to come down. You could say 2 legs up, you could say a second entry, certainly a triple test. So for me, everything's pointing to that coming down the bottom. So although it was at the open, I thought it was good enough to take. Wasn't a massive risk. So I think it was only about a 2.5 point risk, I think. So it wasn't huge. Sometimes risks can be really big at the moment. So tick above, tick below. Yeah, it was only 2.5 point risk. So not a massive risk, that trade. Yeah, I liked it. I thought the setup was beautiful. Triple test. 2 clear legs back. It's always nicer when you're trapping longs. You don't really want to be going long here when the market's doing this. So you can guarantee there's going to be trap traders, so I thought it was worth it doing, and then it worked beautifully. The only slight bit was it was at the open, but I've watched the open every day, and often it just carries on with the price action. It doesn't really do anything, that unpredictable. I just had that issue the other day that I happened to buy it. I clicked buy, and for some reason my profit and stop didn't open, and it went against me quick. Now, if I'd have had my profit and stop, it would have went against me and take me out for 3 points, which I'd have, quite happily accepted. But because it didn't open me stop and profit, I kind of hesitated, couldn't figure out what happened. OBS had crashed as well, so I had half an eye on that. And then it went against me 500, 600, and you kind of think, do I hold? Do I get out? Do I hold? And I got out at minus $800 over the 3 accounts, which I've happily got back now, so that's good news. But so that's why I said I was going to start avoiding the open, but it's rare I take a trade at the open now, very rare. In fact, I can't remember the last time I did, really. So it's hard to say what's going on, but it does seem to be. But you never quite know when it's like this. We had, we're up 2 legs down and it took off again. We've had kind of 2 legs down, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to, I've waffled on a bit today, so if I've done your head in,
My apologies, but sometimes I'm a bit quiet. Sometimes, we've got a reason to have a chat. But as I say, if ever you guys want to chat about anything, you got something on your mind or any questions, feel free to message me. I've got no issues with that. I'll happily talk trading. So I will leave you. Best of luck if you're carrying on. Failing that, I'll see you tomorrow. So have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll catch up with you all tomorrow. Bye for now.